Caddis Maximus here, this time with a quick review and comparison of 1/4" hex ratchets. And I thought these type of tools deserve their own little video, primarily because they're not super common, especially ones that are reasonably high quality and more compact, where you'd want them to where they'd be advantageous in situations where other screwdrivers just can't fit. And that's the big advantage, is you have this, the 1/4" hex has a huge variety of different bit styles, and then these are going to be nice compact ratchets you can use with those. And you don't need the additional hassle of an adapter to attach to a 1/4" ratchet. And these 1/4" hex drivers are going to be much better than alternatives such as these type of screwdrivers. People run into these. The most common places is obviously car interiors, particularly like in sedans, where you might be needing to remove the rear speakers. It's amazing how tight the space can be under the glass, and oftentimes you're stuck using with a screwdriver like this, which is just a real hassle and real cumbersome. Or you have screwdrivers like this Stanley Yankee here, which the bit is integrated into the ratchet, and so when the bit strips out, you have to actually replace the whole unit. And so obviously ratchets like these end up starting to make a whole lot of sense. So we have a few different models here. We have a Craftsman, which is a pretty nice unit. It's a straight handle, nice thick plates. This is the style that these will be in. They won't really be, many aren't in like a nice little forged sealed head ratchet, primarily because of the size. And if you want something nice and compact, this open head is just fine. This Craftsman's actually pretty nice, and they still sell one like this, although they're not made in America anymore. And oftentimes they'll have a little thumb wheel, so as soon as you get it started, you can actually spin it. Or if it has certain spots where it gets a little bit stuck in one position, you can easily do that. And of course, they're all reversible, which is definitely pretty handy. Most of these use a magnet to hold them, so you just put any old bit in there. I kind of like these DeWalt 1" bits that are the torsion bits, because when you fit them in here, you don't have any extra hex, so if it's rubbing against something, you can it doesn't want to cog and cause you any trouble. We also have, and I don't know exactly what brand this is, I think it may be a Matco, and it's pretty well built. It's similar to the Craftsman, although it's a little bit, it's plates, and then they use this forged outer portion. Or excuse me, it's not forged, it actually looks like it's cast, because you can see the thin line there. And this offers the type of shape. I always thought, why would you want one that was bent inwards rather than outwards? And it's specifically for those places where you're like under that rear glass pulling out speakers, or under a dash, where you really need some clearance in the other direction. And I'm kind of wondering why there isn't a flex head. There probably is, and I just haven't seen it yet. But it's about the same as the Craftsman with a thumb screw. I will say that it's sealed, and this one has like a 72 tooth, which is nicer, and an easier to use reverse switch. Moving on, we do have this little Titan here. This came as part of a set with another 1/4" ratchet that was exactly the same as this one. But this is the 1/4" hex drive, and I really appreciate it because it is a socket style, so the bit actually sits into it. One thing I will mention is it uses a spring clip to hold the bit in instead of a magnet, and that can cause trouble over the long term, especially if the spring ever decides to fall out. But what is handy is the bit inserts into the head, so you get a real compact ratchet, and it's tightly offset, and it's kind of nice to have a sealed pair head ratchet in 1/4", and it's tremendously tiny. But not as tiny as these can get, such as this little Chapman here. What's nice about this one is it has a stainless steel body. And another thing I liked about this little ratchet is the turns that they use for left and right, or on and off. They actually use in and out, and I think that makes a ton of sense. It's really pretty simple. It does not have any kind of a ball detent, so I've been using a little magnet here, like so, to hold the bits in. And what's beautiful about this little driver is because the super tiny compact head, this simply will fit in just about any other space. You can get this into a screw that's basically right next to an object, and it's actually saved a surprising amount of time. And these things seem to show up everywhere. Actually, I looked on eBay, and there's just tons of them. And then finally here we do have a thumb wheel. This is one that's designed to run both 1/4" sockets as well as 1/4" hex. I'm going to end up driving or grinding off the 1/4" socket portion because I don't need that. And then you have a nice thumb wheel screwdriver. These actually end up coming in real handy. Let's zoom out a little bit here. When you use them on nice long extensions, because then you have a nice long ratcheting screwdriver that you can easily spin out. And that's the other advantage to 1/4 inches. There's just such a huge variety of tools that you can get just the right size setup to get in at the fastener exactly how you want it. And a situation like this would be a perfect example. This is a Titan 1/4 inch drive hex extension. I'll end up doing a review on these soon. They have a spinning collar, and when you get an extension like this, you really understand how advantageous they are, because you can take it, get it on the fastener, and just use your hand to hold that nice and straight and forcefully. And then all you have to do with this here is worry about actually providing the twisting force, and it turns it into a real kind of a magical process. Getting out screws really become a lot easier, a lot more cooperation. And so I did want to point that out as well. And last but not least, because of all these accessories for 1/4 inch hex drive, you can use things like this, the little right angle heads with a little ratchet on the end of it, and now you can get into just the most incredible spots and get plenty of torque and be able to easily run out of fastener. This is a situation where you could actually be inside a door panel and somehow reach your hand in just to press on the back of it hard enough, and then have the ratchet handle sticking out of the hole, or actually be inside the door and be able to unscrew fasteners, probably saving people quite a bit of time in a variety of situations. And that's kind of the purpose of this tool channel, is not just to show off tools, but to really show people the huge variety of different tools that there are. A lot of people are into tools and collect them, but once you start seeing the variety, then you can really say, wow, there's this particular tool or this particular tool, even if some of them are harder to find when you search around for them or in a tool hound. Especially as we move on to 2020, it's just easier to buy things online, especially eBay. It's not really a problem finding a lot of these kind of things, especially if you're an OCD collector like me. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. Catus Maximus out.